Right, let's dive straight into this. Welcome to The Explainer, where we're unpacking one of the most high-stakes intersections of physical infrastructure, international geopolitics, and edge AI happening in the world today. We're talking about the massive, very real logistical challenge of municipal solid waste, the looming threat of escalating Washington USMCA tariffs, and how the answer to a massive geographical crisis might literally be sitting in a smartphone. Today, we're crossing what's known as the Sentient Bridge.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the 2034 waste capacity cliff, the Ontario-Michigan waste corridor risk, USMCA trade and tariff firewalls, the digital refinery Sentient Bridge, edge AI intake and compliance, and finally, how to convert liabilities into carbon gold.
Section 1. The 2034 Waste Capacity Cliff. To really understand why this technology is so necessary, we first have to look at the undeniable structural reality hitting Ontario. The source material frames this perfectly. Running out of domestic landfill space isn't just some administrative policy glitch. No, it's described as a physics event on a geology clock. Ontario is generating roughly 10 million tons of municipal solid waste, or MSW, every single year, and they are simply running out of domestic clay-lined holes to put it all in.
The timeline here is highly compressed. The January 1, 2026 Blue Box collapse acts as a major catalyst, forcing massive volumes of waste straight into primary disposal. That points us directly to total domestic landfill exhaustion by a 2034 midpoint. In response to this, Ontario Premier Doug Ford passed Bill 5, the Protect Ontario Act, which actually bypassed standard environmental assessments to expand the York 1 Dresden landfill. It's essentially an emergency physical hedge against an unstoppable physical reality.
Section 2. Ontario-Michigan Waste Corridor Risk.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the geopolitical vulnerability. As domestic capacity vanishes, all that waste is moving across the border, driven by a massive economic arbitrage. Just think about this. In the Greater Toronto Area, the tipping fee floor is a steep $189.86 per ton. But across the border in Michigan, it's a mere 36 cents per ton. It's literally pennies on the dollar. However, that entirely relies on political stability. Governor Gretchen Whitmer has proposed raising that fee to $5 per ton, pushing right up against U.S. Commerce Clause limits. And the sheer scale of this cross-border trade pipe is staggering. Ontario municipal solid waste, shipped across the U.S. border to Michigan landfills, accounts for 3.46 million tons annually. Let that sink in. That is 14.35% of all waste disposed of in Michigan landfills coming straight from Ontario, Canada. It represents a terrifyingly heavy physical and logistical reliance on just one international border crossing.
Section 3. USMCA trade and tariff firewalls.
With that kind of unprecedented volume moving across the border, Washington's trade policies suddenly become critical market variables. Let's look at the volatility timeline. Following that 2026 Blue Box collapse, a Section 122 zombie tariff expired, or came back from the dead really, in July 2026. But the real hammer drops on August 19, 2026, with a massive 50% Section 338 duty on Canadian wood and paper products. This is all driven by year-to-date headline news trends and trade friction in Washington over CUSMA and USMCA frameworks that were heavily negotiated during the Donald Trump administration. The takeaway? Businesses have to act incredibly fast to avoid crippling financial hits.
So the crucial point here is how exactly you legally classify your freight. Adopting USMCA Chapter 4 customs classifications, specifically using the code HS 3825.0, acts as a powerful regulatory firewall. It effectively takes clean, diverted wood and places it entirely outside the wall of these new Washington tariffs, protecting compliant businesses from devastating seizures and duties at the border.
Section 4. The Digital Refinery Sentient Bridge.
To actually survive this 2034 cliff and dodge the tariff crossfire, Ontario industry needs a serious technical intervention. Enter the 905 Wood Digital Refinery. Think of this as a fully decentralized ecosystem that takes highly chaotic construction waste and turns it into pristine CFO-level transparency. The application workflow handles the whole shebang, generating a request for quote to lock in prices, utilizing AI intake for instant classification, and managing reporting for that critical USMCA shield and scientific verification.
It acts as the sentient bridge between raw, messy waste and the ultra-high purity requirements of the biocarbon market.
Section 5. Edge AI Intake and Compliance.
Now let's talk about the hardware frontline because this is where the tech gets absolutely wild. Your compliance officer is no longer human, it's a Google Pixel 10 Pro. By operationalizing Android 16 alongside LiteRT AI stack features, this phone runs the Gemma 4 E2B model directly on its Tensor G5 chip. What does that mean for you? It means you get sub-500 millisecond Edge AI classification right at the source. Zero cloud latency, just instant, verifiable answers.
And that blistering speed is backed up by ironclad cryptographic trust through what's called a hold-to-seal protocol. Literally, by holding a button, the phone's secure element generates a tamper-evident digital vault. It locks in the exact GPS coordinates down to the meter, the specific AI model version used, a kernel hash that proves the phone hasn't been jailbroken or hacked, and an exact timestamp. You are creating a permanent, fully court-admissible record on the fly.
You might be wondering, though, what happens with tricky visual fallacies, right? Like, say, heavily weathered wood that confuses the AI. This system employs a brilliant dual-model consensus failsafe. If the primary E2B model drops into an amber band of 70 to 85% confidence, it immediately escalates the task to a heavier E4B model, right there on the device. And if those two models disagree, the load is autonomously shunted for physical near-infrared and X-ray fluorescence analysis. It's a true, unbreakable hardware failsafe.
Guided by the precautionary principle, this system fiercely protects the clean narrative of the operation by scanning for invisible chemical contaminants. The TCLP hazardous isolation chain specifically looks for heavy metals, things like arsenic, lead, and chromium. If any of those strict limits are breached, the system takes over. It autonomously revokes the clean routing and automatically generates an OREG 347 hazardous waste manifest. It's an absolute firewall protecting the downstream biocarbon stream.
Section 6. Converting liabilities to carbon gold.
All of this incredible technology enables a massive financial strategy known as shorting the landfill. Look at this number. That is the potential annual circle levy savings for a general contractor running a 200 load per week fleet. Just by using Edge AI to verify and shift waste from a highly punitive $60 per ton mixed band down to a $5 per ton clean band, the cost avoidance is staggering. We're talking about saving over $1,000 on a single mothership trailer load.
But it's not just about saving money. There is massive value creation here. Verified clean wood yields valuable carbon removal certificates. Now, there is a known technical bottleneck right now, an AI fine-tuning glitch called a red overdue Cooley LoRa Stage 3 failure. But rather than breaking the system, this glitch acts as a fascinating conservative failsafe. While the spot-high market value can soar over $7,600, this failsafe automatically defaults to a highly reliable book value of $2,721 per load until human-in-the-loop data resolves the tuning. It's brilliantly cautious.
And this illustrates the ultimate transformation. By routing this material to the Char Technologies BioHub for high-temperature pyrolysis, you are completely decoupling from the volatile landfill market. You are transforming trash into stable biocarbon, yielding massive dividends depending on the registry tier. Ultimately, by operationalizing this tech stack, 9.5 would definitively secures Ontario's industrial leadership in the global circular bioeconomy.
Finally, how does all this data get presented? The digital Refinery UI/UX output packages everything into a comprehensive PDF documentation feature known as the compliance package. It hands the generator a verified certificate of origin, electronic manifests, a zero-levy report card, and that vital 9-point USMCS shield. It literally proves their savings and compliance perfectly, ready to be handed directly to the CFO.
So, I want to leave you with this final, critical thought. As that 2034 capacity cliff hurtles toward us, will your supply chain be buried by unavoidable geological constraints and highly volatile border tariffs? Or will you leverage Edge AI to cross the sentient bridge into the circular bioeconomy? The tools exist right now to turn your biggest logistical liability into a verifiable, highly profitable asset. Thanks for exploring this with me today.